Tennessee Titans fans, Jon Robinson, former Tennessee Titans GM, has made an appearance on the Intangible Podcast late last week. I made it clear on X when this was announced that this episode was coming out that I would check it out, and there's a link to the full episode in the video description below. You can go check it out. I'm not going to give away every single thing that they talk about here, but I was very interested to see what Jon Robinson could potentially say about certain decisions that he made in his tenure as the Titans GM. I was interested to see what Jon Robinson would say about certain people and certain players and certain coaches and owners and things like that. But I will say they didn't really get into the weeds too much on this podcast. They talked about some interesting things, but they didn't really get into why did you do this? What were you thinking when you did that? And that may be something that is considered off limits. I don't know who is kind of in charge of that, but a couple of things that Jon Robinson said on the Intangible Podcast that really stuck out to me. First of all, he talked about the fact that the hardest thing for an NFL GM to admit, the hardest thing for an NFL GM to come to terms with, and the answer that Jon Robinson landed on was admitting that you got a trade wrong. Obvious. Like the most obvious answer that he could have given, considering. But I just have to say this. There are certain trades that happen that look like they may be a promising trade and then it doesn't pan out. Take, for example, what the Titans are experiencing with L'Jarius Sneed right now. Now, it's not over. We'll see what he does this season. But so far, that was a trade that we were all very excited about and thought could be huge for the Titans. And so far, that has just not come to fruition. Okay, I understand that happens. But there's a difference between situations like that and situations where you know it is a stupid decision as it's happening. You do not need the benefit of hindsight to tell you that trading A.J. Brown was completely moronic. I knew it when I watched it happen. I knew it when I saw the update come up on my screen. I didn't need 3 years of hindsight. I didn't need 3 years of watching A.J. Brown be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL in Philadelphia. I didn't need to watch A.J. Brown go off on the Titans in the 2022 season and humiliate us. I didn't need to watch A.J. Brown win a Super Bowl to know that that trade was ridiculous. And it just, I can't believe that we would sit here and be like, well, it sucks to admit that I got that one wrong. It's like, dude, you needed to let time pass before you realized you got that one wrong? I knew you got that one wrong as it happened. Everyone knew, whether they're a Titans fan or not, you got that one wrong. It was awful, and it was one of the key things, in my opinion, that got him fired. I'm not going to say that's all, but it got him, it was a top 3 reason why he got fired. And so, yes, I'm sure it does suck to admit that you got a trade wrong, but some trades are so mind-boggling that it shouldn't even be a question of whether or not you got it wrong. You should have known that you had it wrong before you even did it, and therefore you shouldn't have done it. Oh, I got it wrong. Shucks. Guess I'll have to learn from it. No. Trading for a player that's been very good somewhere else and then they come in and they get hurt or it never pans out, that's getting a trade wrong. That happens to everybody. But trading the best wide receiver you've ever had before their rookie contract's even up, that's not up for debate about whether that's a good or bad thing. The fact that it was even up for question was bad enough, but the fact that you needed to see it play out to really truly comprehend that it was a bad call? What? The other thing that Jon Robinson said that really stuck out to me, I mean, he had some neat stories about things like bringing in Ryan Tannehill when they, were kind of moving away from Marcus. He talked about, stories about Vrabel and all sorts of things. But one of the other interesting things that Jon Robinson said to me was he was talking about how unfair he thinks it is that head coaches always get a second chance. No matter how badly it ended at the previous place they were at, they always get a second chance. Quarterbacks that don't pan out in one place will get a second chance somewhere else. He threw out the name Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had kind of crashed and burned at a few places, but then he still got an opportunity at Tampa Bay, and now he's killing it. He talked about Andy Reid, how he was let go from one place, and then he gets another chance at Kansas City, and now he's killing it. And he says it's not fair that GMs don't get that same treatment. With GMs, and I do agree with what he's saying, with GMs, if you get fired once, it's really hard to get hired again as a GM. He talked about how he himself has had numerous interviews, but nothing has panned out since he was fired by the Tennessee Titans. I get to some degree, yes, with head coaches, it doesn't pan out and they still get an opportunity somewhere else with quarterbacks and other, coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. When it doesn't work out somewhere, a lot of times they will get another chance somewhere else. And it does seem like GMs don't get that same benefit of the doubt. But, to me, a GM who makes decisions, you're in charge of making the decisions about the roster. You're in charge, free agency, trades, draft. And when you do a bad enough job that you get let go, that to me, you can argue that a coach or a quarterback could be put into a bad situation, right? You could say, okay, Baker Mayfield didn't do well over here in Cleveland, but maybe he was in a bad situation. And if we can bring him over here and get him in a new situation that is better suited for him, then he can do better. Same thing with head coaches. If you're the GM, you are literally creating the situation that these guys are in. There may be rare circumstances where if you're a GM, maybe because of the owner above you, you're not in a good situation. But when you have a track record, and I can't believe I'm about to defend Vrabes here. I like Vrabes. I don't have a problem defending him, but I've just kind of become known as a Vrabel hater, even though I don't hate him. When you put your head coach, your quarterback, in a position where they can't succeed because you drafted Isaiah Wilson, Caleb Farley, Traylon Burks back-to-back, you traded A.J. Brown, you traded up to draft Dez Fitzpatrick when Amon-Ra St. Brown was still on the board, you have nobody left from the 2020 or the 2021 draft left on the Titans team. The 2022 draft is really starting to dwindle. It's hard to give that GM with that on his track record another chance because you're creating the situation that the head coach and the quarterback and others have to deal with. You can put a head coach and a quarterback in a new system, in a new team, in a new city, in a change of scenery, and it can make a difference. But the GM, if they've made it clear by statements like, I am the analytics department, I don't know. I think Jon Robinson's a good guy. He seems like a really nice guy. So it's not an attack on him personally. But I do think, in terms of getting another job as a GM, I just don't think he did himself any favors with the AJ trade and some of his draft picks, a lot of his draft picks, not just in the first round, but even after that. So just interesting. There's a link to the Intangible Podcast in the video description below. You can go check that out and listen to the whole thing. There is some neat stuff in there too. He's a very down-to-earth guy that does know a lot about the game, but, he said the hardest thing to admit is admitting you got a trade wrong. You don't say.